What's up, peoples? What's up, friends? It's the O Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, CW, and today let's talk about how wrestling crosses over into pop culture and vice versa. Well, maybe not so much vice versa, but the reason I want to talk about this is because meaning yesterday, I watched Kenny Omega's entrance at Wrestle Kingdom 17, where he dressed like Sephiroth from Final Fantasy 7 and legit had a full opening Titantron with the one-winged angel introduction, I believe, and the song. Yeah, that's the name of the song, which was a shot of nostalgia I didn't know that I needed at the moment. I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. Let me rephrase. I'm a huge Final Fantasy 7 fan. It was the first JRPG that I ever played. I went through a lot to get it, and when I did play it, I played it so much and so thoroughly and so reverently that it's today one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. I think Skyrim's on that list, and I don't know what the other one is, but it's definitely Skyrim. Final Fantasy 7 is probably number 1, just in terms of, games that I've loved and played countless times. So watching Kenny Omega show up in a wrestling ring dressed as Sephiroth, one of the weirdest. No, he's not one of the weirdest. He's actually one of the more tame Final Fantasy characters. He just carries a really big sword, but iconic. One of the most iconic Final Fantasy characters. I was kind of flipping through my mental Rolodex of wrestlers who are also gigantic nerds and how they brought that nerdiness into the ring with them. So the most obvious comparison would be the New Day and Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods is a friend to Kenny Omega. They are video game buds. They, I believe, 5 years ago, they did a Capcom New Day versus the Elite Street Fighter 5 tournament, which was huge at the time. It was WWE playing nice with another outside company. But Xavier Woods and the New Day are notorious. I don't know if that's the right word, but they are well known for wearing their nerd love on their sleeve. And I'm almost positive it's more Kofi and Xavier Woods. And while I think Biggie just loves them so much, he's like, yeah, let's do it. But they have, in spectacular fashion, promoted their love of anime and all types of fun stuff in their entrances. I think that's a good portion of where people show their love. Having them come out, dressed as Dragon Ball Z characters. A couple months ago, I believe they dressed as the Green Ranger or Power Rangers in general. They had the budget to do some crazy stuff, and I think Xavier Woods is probably the mastermind behind a lot of those nerdy pursuits. I always enjoy watching wrestlers sort of show kind of who they are through their ring gear or their entrances or their movesets. Sometimes they do crazy movesets that are reminiscent of something they saw in Street Fighter or something they saw in a comic or whatever. So Kenny Omega is such a big dork that I believe his finishing move is called the one-winged angel. He does he shoots his arm out in his entrance for Wrestle Kingdom, like it's one of the wings on Sephiroth, which I thought was, every wrestler needs that thing. When they do the entrance, they have some hand signal. It's kind of like a wrestling thing. You gotta do something, right? You gotta do some hand signal, something to get the crowd engaged. And him shooting his arm out like it's Sephiroth's wing, I thought was really interesting. It would be really cool if he kept that. I don't watch Kenny Omega wrestling matches, so I don't know if he always does that, but I thought it was cool. The only thing I didn't particularly jive with was the complete lack of reaction from the crowd. And of course, I think that's just a Japanese thing. They're being quiet, they're being respectful of the entrance, the music, the wrestler. They come out to silence. They don't come out to crazy cheers. But I feel as though if they were to cheer, it would have been a raucous, crazy pop for that song and that entrance. I almost wish he did more. He came out, he shot his arm out, he turned around and just walked to the ring. I almost want more happening. It should have been a little bit more elaborate. If he was in, say, WWE, I think he would have done some more stuff. But I mean, just remember the New Day had a gigantic box of cereal that they crawled out of, which I'm still wondering how they did. Were they laying on their side and then kicked the box over? It was weird. But yeah, a bigger budget would have helped do some of that. And if just thinking back even further, Rey Mysterio was always the guy who wore a lot of that nerdiness on his mask or his ring gear. Rey Mysterio is famous for having some of the best ring gear, and a lot of it was like inspired by Marvel characters. He's done Daredevil, he's had Captain America. Rey Mysterio was always, when a pay-per-view rolled around, you were excited to see the kind of ring gear he was going to be rocking, because it was probably going to be something either extremely lucha focused or something really nerdy. I always remember the Daredevil one. It was really well put together. And the fact that the fact that he wears a mask, he gets to dress up the mask in an interesting way is fantastic. I mean, if you've seen the cover of WWE 2K22, he has this honestly creepy mask with just like spikes sticking out of it, very Hellraiser-esque. I don't know if that was the inspiration for that, but it freaked me out as an adult man. So Rey Mysterio is another like classic example of kind of wearing your nerdiness on your sleeve. And I think the last one I can think of was Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano in NXT had this one particular bit of ring gear that was just Wolverine's costume, which I remember I popped for seeing that. I don't watch NXT, or I did not watch a ton of NXT, the first iteration, the black and gold 1.0 brand, but I saw that bit of ring gear in one of my wrestling news feeds, and I popped hard all by myself in my house. I was like, oh man, my man dressed exactly like Wolverine. And I think his action figure has that gear. I might be mistaken, but if it does, I want to find that figure and purchase it, because the gear was great. And since then, I've seen Johnny Gargano on Up Up Down Down, Xavier Woods' video game YouTube channel. He's a gamer. He's a dork like the rest of us. And so I hope when he comes back from his injury, apparently by the Rumble, hopefully he has a new gimmick. And by gimmick, I mean hopefully they just allow him to be Johnny Wrestling. There's so much potential for Gargano to kind of take on, I don't want to say just the mid card, but he is a smaller guy, and he probably won't be winning like crazy big titles, but him and Chad Gable can have some fantastic matches, and I hope they get to tussle later on. Can you guys think of any wrestler who wears their nerd fandom on their sleeve? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys listening. Remember to hit the bell to get notified when new videos are up, and subscribe to the podcast on any and all platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, where I think I have the links in the description. So hit subscribe and help out your boy. Thank you so much for listening to the O Wrestling Podcast. I'm going to go do leg day. Just remember,
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.